we are at the beginning of 20
So,
minutes, 30 minutes.
however long you want, Aymeric, and you just let me know like what feels good for you if you need to rush or anything.
30 minutes is right.
Beautiful. All right, let's go for it.
I will try to to avoid the same thing than fully charged.
Okay, beautiful. Well, so first of all, can you tell me about some of the moments in your life that have led to you being where you are now in this position with Transition One? Can you give a small history about what's kind of led your desires and motivations in life that have led you to come to this exact moment?
Yeah, okay. Because Transition One, it's a big story, but there is a beginning, a minute, a second of this big story. The moment of the first cell split. It was the 6th July, around 3 p.m. in France. At this moment, the French Minister of Ecology presented his climate plan, and he decided to ban the sales of combustion new cars for 2040.
Yeah.
And in 2040, I will get 70 years old. It's not close to me. This is far. So I never think about that. That's why I said to myself, how is it possible to change deeply the behavior of a lot of people, because there is a climate emergency, how to change the deep behaviors with this kind of challenge? This is too far in the time. So I said, in fact, the problem is not to ban the cells, because if you make that, the effect is over this date, and it's too late. In fact, if we want to innovate, to change something, we need to improve existing things, existing cars.
Yeah.
And not only cars, but it's the same thing for isolation of the houses, the same thing to how to change the behavior for the foods and so on. But for the mobility, the goal is to improve existing cars.
Yeah.
The problem is not the car. That could be the problem, but at the moment it's not the problem. This is the engine with the CO2 emissions. So this is easy. It's really easy to understand that you can extract the engine, the tank, the exhaust, and to replace all that subsystems with a generic electric powertrain with the motor and with the battery pack. This is easy to explain. Of course, there is a lot of engineers' activities to industrialize that, but this is the beginning of the story. This message from the French ecological minister, and few months ago, European deputies voted to expand this activity, the retrofit, the regulation of the retrofit on all the EU. So for Transition One, the goal is not to deploy the retrofit only in France, but in Europe and also over. There is no limit. And just to extend my point of view, in fact, with the CO2 emissions, there is no borders. If you have a product like that, the pen, this is a waste. In few months, in few years, that will be a waste. The waste will be in the border of a country. So this is the people of this country to manage this waste. But for the CO2 emissions, if you are the best and your neighbors are not the best, you will get the same problem.
Yeah.
with the CO2 emissions. The problem is not in the borders. This is a planet problem, planet issue. So that's why for 2021, the goal is to extend this activity to everywhere.
Beautiful. I love that story, and what a perfect moment to kind of inspire something. And so going a little bit further back in your life, what do you feel that put you in that position that when he said what he said, made you decide, okay, well, this is time for me to start retrofitting cars? How did that come into your life?
Yeah, and before to think about the retrofit, in fact, I was not in the automotive sector. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's why I have this idea. In fact, in 90s, with some friends, we created an IT outsource company to develop software for and digital solutions for startups and new leaders in the world.
Yeah.
So my education is on the software development.
Yeah.
And also I'm a hacker. And the definition of the hacker is how to use a system for an unexpected behavior. Mm-hmm. In fact, the retrofit that. This company, we started with 5 friends, and at the moment, this is more than 1,500 people all around the world. Mm. So this is a really, really amazing adventure regarding scaling, multicultural approach, a lot of people from Vietnam, Romania, Moldova, Mexico, and so on.
Incredible.
But so really, really interesting adventure. But the cause of the CO2 emissions, it's more important than this success. There is more impact. And I'm a guy, I need challenges.
Yeah.
And 2021, it's a really, really big challenges. Mm-hmm. And our mission is to save 1 million of tons of CO2 equivalents in 10 years.
Beautiful.
This is huge. This is reasonable, but we need ambition to success face the climate emergency. So just after this first split of sales, for me, engine, motors, battery pack, okay, I can know, but not in details. So I decided to work with a local engineer school, to define the first features. Okay, light cars, but which motor, the power, the torque, and so on. Which battery pack, the size, power as well. And we worked during 6 weeks. And at 4 weeks, I had sufficient data to say, let's go. Mm. Because in fact, in my life, the goal is to take and to manage risk. Yeah. Without risk, it's too risky and so on. At the end, you will make nothing. Mm-hmm. So the goal is not to run anywhere with closed eyes. Yeah. But okay, we have to manage risk. Okay, we need money to start a project. Yeah. But if you want to start with a perfect environment, perfect context, is not possible to start. Mm-hmm. So the risk, it's really, this is really important. And of course, you have to manage the risk. Yeah. It's not okay, I'm taking risk and so on, so on. No, you have to manage to be sure you will not forget the risk. Mm-hmm. So I started the company in, so I said from the idea, it's 6th July, and created the company the 16th February 2018. With the idea to start to create the first prototype with light cars, with a Renault Twingo, European car. Yeah. It's a light car. It is only 800 kilograms, with a reasonable range.
Yeah.
And on this approach, reasonable range, this is difficult for a lot of people at the moment to understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because on an electric car, you can say at the moment with automotive manufacturers, the goal is to extend as more as possible the range.
Yes.
And there is a competition. There is a competition for these people, for these automotive manufacturers. Yeah. 400 kilometers, 500, 600 kilometers. And if we can analyze this context, more range, heavier car, more expensive, more pollution.
Yep.
Where are the new values?
Yes, 100%. I agree with you so much. And I almost want to ask you, so to help people understand, I think, obviously, if there's a new production of a nice car, like a fossil fuel car, yeah. It emits a certain amount of carbon during the production, the steel, everything sort of extracted and moved around the world and needed to be put together. It's in a similar sort of frame is needed for the EV car. Obviously, the EV car also needs the batteries as well, which take up quite a bit of the extraction process and the carbon. Can you explain to people what the difference is between the amount of carbon required for a new EV versus the typical amount of carbon emitted in a retrofitted EV? And I'm happy to maybe use one of the examples of the cars that you use or specialize in. Do you have any data or things that can help people really understand, like, this is this?
Yeah. So one of the more important advantage of the retrofit, this is the low carbon production.
Yeah.
And for me, one of the most important value for the future, this is circular economy.
Yes.
We lived, our parents, our grandparents created society consumption. Okay, it's not the best product, go to the West, I will buy a new one.
Yes.
New one.
Yes.
So you need a lot of energy, you need a lot of resources to make that. And at the moment we can measure this is difficult for a lot of people, for the climate, for a lot of things. So if we continue that, and we take an example, the Volkswagen Golf. To manufacture a Volkswagen Golf, this is a new data. This is 10 tons of CO2 emissions to manufacture a Volkswagen Golf. Because range, new car, and so on.
Yes.
If we can retrofit this car, but the combustion version, not electric, of course, we can reuse the emitted CO2. This is there, the product exists.
Yeah.
And the goal is to only add a reasonable quantity of carbon.
Yes.
And in our life cycle analysis, the goal is, for our objective, is to add 3 tons of carbon.
Okay. So to simplify, just to make sure I understand, so a new, are we talking about an EV, a new EV Volkswagen Golf, or a new fossil fuel Golf is 10 tons?
Yeah.
And the retrofitted is 3 tons?
Yeah.
Beautiful. So I think that's just an incredibly powerful.
I don't know if you know the econology approach.
No.
This is economy and ecology.
Okay.
Econology.
I love it. I love a wordsmith.
From a lot of companies, a lot of politicians, the goal is made in my country.
Mm-hmm.
Made in France, made in USA, made in China, made in.
Yeah.
And of course, sometimes it's difficult to explain to the people, hey, this product, maybe it's more expensive, but this product is manufactured in your country, so it's better. I'm not really right with that, because on the next step, the goal is made in Democratia streets or Republic streets, because you need more and more and more. And if you present both data, the price and the quantity of CO2 emissions, mm-hmm. to ensure the lowest quantity of CO2 emissions, you have to manufacture the product locally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that is not necessary to be a national by country. No, it's better for the planet, for the mankind, if you can mix both. The price, maybe that could be just a little bit more expensive, but with the quantity of CO2 emissions, you know that you pay something maybe just a little bit more expensive, but your impact on the carbon is better.
Yeah.
And this is understandable for the people.
Yes.
Not for everyone,
mm-hmm.
because the sensibility of the people is not really high on the ecology.
Mm-hmm.
And this is this approach with econology. We have to explain. And we are living a big change, really big. And this is really interesting, because if you want to understand this change, you have to learn. Mm. You have to accept to learn. And maybe we will be more smarter, yeah, if we learn more. Mm. So there is big change. Old values will not continue. Society of consumption. Mm-hmm. We have to explain new values, sobriety, reasonable approach, circular economy approach, and this is better to learn to explain, like I'm making at the moment. Mm-hmm. Because we need to make better today, yeah, and tomorrow than before.
Totally.
And
how do you feel?
Yeah.
Just on that point, how do you feel is the most effective way to encourage people to be open to learning about what's coming in here? Because for me, like, a lot of this research is all being new, and I'm discovering some really interesting things around it. What do you think will be helpful for people to become more aware of this and retrofitting?
For me, the climate effects.
Yeah.
4 years ago, a lot of people were really interesting to understand the retrofit. Mm-hmm. But this is people really sensible regarding the climate. Yeah. And this summer in Europe, in France, the climate conditions were very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Warm, hot, fire in forests,
yeah,
and climate phenomena. So for some people, it is not transparent.
mm-hmm.
Of course, you can't believe me. Some people told me, hey, nice weather this summer. Always the sun. Always a sunny weather.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but think of it. is not right.
Mm-hmm.
But for the goal, we don't need that all the people become aware the change in once.
Yes.
Because the solutions to deploy solutions, we need time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's normal for the people. Okay, you will change quickly, and you less quickly, and
Yeah.
you really later. But
So I have a question around
yeah,
that timing of changing, for instance. So currently in the UK, there is a law around retrofitting cars not getting a tax benefit if those cars were produced after 2001. What do you feel the people who are making these policies need to understand to have a chance of changing those laws?
yeah. Um, the retrofit, the impact of the retrofit will be only on the size of the market.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment in the UK, you can change, improve your car.
Yeah.
You declare the changes, and that's all. Some people told me, hey, in UK, it's really fun because you can change your car. Yeah, but when you make that alone, when you make like that with a company, someone is responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And when this is 1, 10, 100 cars, the risk is not really high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With traction one, my goal is to electrify
Mm-hmm.
before 2035 in the world 10 millions of cars.
Mm-hmm.
This is huge,
Yeah.
but without ambition, there is no effect.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get ambition for a lot of things.
Yeah.
To generate impact.
Yeah.
And not only on mobility. So people in governments are to understand we need impact. We need to create this new market. This new market of the retrofit is not a competitor of automotive manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
They will continue to deliver new car,
yeah.
but we need to add a new market,
yeah.
a new activity to accelerate the conversion of
yeah.
the market,
yes.
of the fleet. So we need, in countries, we need an industrial retrofit regulation.
Mm-hmm.
An approval at the beginning of the process. Okay, on this model, you integrate this bill of materials and so on. And there is the process of conversion. An organization validates that. And when you get the approval, if you respect the bill of materials and the process, you can convert any quantity. On the end, for that, there is a share of the risk with the company and the government because you respect the norms. And for the client, this is an insurance. Okay, an independent authority validated the materials and so on.
Yeah.
In fact, this is similar, really similar than an automotive manufacturer.
Yeah.
And for me, when someone last week, someone contacted me from Indonesia. And my explanations are always the same. There is two conditions to extend to a new country. First of all, does the fleet of the country is really similar than 2001 catalog to avoid to electrify a new model, to invest on a new model, to start a new country. And the second condition, it's we need in the country a regulation for an industrial retrofit approach. Because one by one, it's too risky. And one by one, if there is a control of a declaration, it's too much time and it's not transparent for the client. And companies in this kind of country where there is this one by one declaration will continue to electrify classic cars and to make that in the garage and so on. And for us, the goal is to propose a distributed industrial process to make that in garages. And at the moment, we have just a bit more 1,200 applicants to become a partner, an installer.
Incredible. I love that.
Yeah, from worldwide. Incredible.
Congratulations. That's amazing to take something that was just a little idea from a speech to having 12.
And for me, of course, we are working our worldwide notoriety. But this is a symbol. There is a need from everywhere. So sometimes investors request me, what is your the best countries to extend? Where there is cars and where there is CO2 emissions, and of course where there is an industrial retrofit regulation. So at the end, this is everywhere.
I love that. What's the most useful thing that a community or somebody watching this video could do to support your mission with Transition One?
The most important thing is to explain to the people around you, friends, family, colleagues, and so on. Hey, do you know the retrofit? Do you know what is it? Do you know the impact of the retrofit? Less carbon for manufacturing and zero emission vehicle after. Because we have to understand, if we can improve with a ZEV, zero emission vehicle, we will improve air quality. And if we improve air quality, this is less DELF. In France, for example, the air quality impacts the premature DELF of more than 48,000 people in a year.
Wow. That's huge.
So if we can reduce quickly and massively the CO2 emissions, there is an impact on the life of a lot of people and families as well. So to understand, hey, look at what the retrofit, if that's the impact, and with industrialization, this is the cost, and that could be everywhere. So if the community wants to help me, to help Transition One, and to help the air quality of the country, of the atmosphere, explain the retrofit to everyone around you. And this is simple to explain. You extract the engine, you replace it by the motor and the battery pack, and it's finished. Easy
what are
to explain.
The most common questions that you get from people who are still a little bit skeptical? So say, for instance, are there questions about the battery life, all of these different things? What are the most common objections that you hear on a daily basis?
The most frequently question,
Mm-hmm.
range.
Range, yeah.
And for me, for 2021, this is a strong position. 100 kilometers, 62 miles. And in France, in Europe as well, the distance, the range between home and work, 26 kilometers. In London, if I remember, this is 10 miles.
Yeah.
Why do we need more? Because it's more comfortable. Balance your comfort and the climate emergency.
Yeah.
If I can change something really simply, comfort or climate emergency. And for the future, it's really tomorrow, we have to make this kind of choice. And in our rich countries, maybe it's more difficult. So range is not a problem.
Beautiful.
Range is a problem when you want to sell something to someone needing more range. So a lot of people must to be aware the use, and not 100% of use, 90%. 90% of use, this is enough. And if for your vacation, you need to drive your car on 300, 500, 600 kilometers, you can change your car just for this time. But yearly, you reduce 90% of your carbon emission.
That's really nice, because there's a lot more flexible car providers these days as well, so people can have a car for a month, for instance, when they do need to do a longer travel. And then
and Winston Churchill said, so often it's French, I can explain that, there is opportunity and difficulty.
Yeah.
Some people are seeing opportunity in difficulty. In other one, they are seeing difficulty in the opportunity.
Yeah.
For me, we are the front of a lot of difficulties.
Yeah.
There is a lot of opportunities. Maybe we can invent a new activity to rent existing cars, not new one, but existing cars, maybe bigger because it's for the vacation with luggages and so on. And maybe that could be right. Or we can deploy a rent solution with retrofitted car. When you use the train to move, and at the end, on the arrival, you can get a retrofitted car for your move on proximity.
I love that idea. I also feel like something that I feel will support all of this is more autonomous driving as well. So when these cars are potentially driving themselves, then it allows for a lot more flexibility. We don't need to own so many cars individually. When I look at the roads around me, 80% of the cars are just sitting there parked, maybe even 90%. Like most times they're just kind of there parked. And that gives a big opportunity for space to come back, for local agriculture to come back, for people to recreate soil in their local environments and absorb carbon in so many different ways. There's also, I spoke to someone called Bruce who was doing a lot of work on hemp cars previously with a Renew car, and looking at carbon negative materials. Are there any materials that you're exploring for the conversion process that are sort of not your average like steel cases for the boxes and things? Are there any like repurposed materials that you can use for the conversion process itself?
Yeah, for me, the retrofits, you have to manufacture the retrofit locally.
Yeah,
this is in the country. This is not in China. This is not on the other side of the world. And in our model, the goal is to propose to garages to convert, to teach their, and to for them to get an ability for the convention.
Yeah.
But local garages will lose between 30 and 50% of the activity. This is the consequence of the electric car. Less parts, less activities of maintenance.
Interesting.
Less oil, less filters, less a lot of things.
Yeah.
So less maintenance.
Yes.
So the goal is to propose this local garages. Okay, we will teach you to learn the conversion process.
Yes.
And with our digital activities, with their local activities, you will get a lot of conversions to make.
Yes, love that.
And there is another stage. We in a country, we will deploy a micro factory, local, regional micro factory.
Tell me about
and the goal of these micro factories, this is to assemble and tested our units of retrofit. In transition one, there is no kit. I have a lot of questions. Please, can you send me a kit? What is a kit? The definition of a kit, this is parts that you assembly alone, yourself, do it yourself. We are an industrial, and you have to warranty the result at the end.
Yeah.
So if you can make that cable, plug, and screws, and a lot, motor, inverter, no, we will deliver a unit of retrofit already assembled and tested.
Beautiful.
So I simplify the message in the description. There is two parts: powertrain and battery pack. This is better than charger, inverter, motor, air compressor for air conditioned, heater, battery pack, BMS,
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah.
This is too risky to ensure the result. And in fact, this is an industrial approach. If we want to reduce the quantity of issues, we have to be sure as soon as possible to verify that it works.
Yeah.
And my goal with the target on impact, it's to convert, to make the conversion in 4 hours.
That's incredible.
If there is too much things to make, activity, too much tasks to make, 4 hours is not possible. No one requested 4 hours. But more hours, more expensive. And more hours, I will have to teach more people, more companions, to ensure the same quantity of conversions in the time. So the goal is to propose an industrial process. So to be sure that this is respected, and like that, we can ensure the result for the clients at the end. And with less issues, more use, more impact.
I love that. And if there was somebody in a position who was really interested in maybe doing a DIY car and they've already done a little EV project or something, is there any way that they could work with you at Transition One? How would somebody that's enthusiastic, maybe a little bit knowledgeable already, be able to work with Transition One? Is there a way that you can bring them into an education program or a community or something like that?
Community for sure.
Yeah.
Because this is not a common activity. This is a new activity. So, of course, first customers will become ambassadors.
Yeah.
And the first customers will have to share our experience with the retrofitted car. And in my email signature, it's written, never stop learning.
Mm. Mm.
And we can understand that also, never stop teaching.
Mm.
I'm convinced if we want to change something, we need the commitment of a lot of people.
Yeah.
But who will be on activity in the future? Young people.
Mm.
For example, that's why last Saturday, I was in a school, automotive school in Paris,
Mm.
to explain the retrofit, to present our prototype. Because, of course, it's not a standard picture, but young people are more convinced about the change.
Mm. Mm.
So they will be able to explain.
Yeah.
There is and explain, not too loudly, but to explain, okay, there is a change and there is a solution.
Mm.
Because without solution, in France in 2018, government decided to add a tax on the gas and on this diesel few cents to finance ecological transition.
Mm.
The name of the effect is Gilets jaunes,
What does this mean?
the yellow jacket,
Okay.
with a lot of people on the roads, really hungry, and so they decided to stop this tax.
Mm.
And that's why we need to understand. And young people will have to explain, and young people will have to be convinced to accept changes.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting because is not the goal. In my position with the retrofit and the position of transition, the goal is not to explain a product. This is to explain the effect.
Beautiful.
And maybe you know Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
We need really to understand why we have to change.
Yeah.
And not just to which solution, how no, why.
Mm.
So why for a company in transition, you can imagine why. This is from the beginning, the
Yeah.
why. But to live in this time, we need to understand why we need that. It's difficult to use this example, but in war, like in Ukraine, like in our countries in 40s, we knew war, and we were not there at this time, but we know the why. We have to defend our country, and at this time, we have to defend our atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm convinced if there is no ambition enough, maybe that could be, and we are really, my sentences are really far from automotive sector.
Yeah.
But if there is no action from a lot of people, maybe we will be at the end of our civilization.
Mm.
Because with less territories, because the sea could be higher, with too much temperature, for example, in Africa,
Mm-hmm.
there is climate migrations. With less foods, the future will not really fun.
Yeah.
And Roman civilization with barbars. This is because the comfort was more important to change something.
Mm. Mm.
And so this philosophy, this mindset, maybe that could be really important for a lot of people to understand that.
Yeah.
And maybe that would be simpler to act.
Mm.
And that's why one of the motto of 2021, let's act for climate emergency.
Amazing. Yeah.
Because the effect for one person, this is not enough. For one country, this is not enough. From one continent, this is the beginning.
Yeah.
From everyone, this is the most important thing. And not only from the rich people. When you change something, maybe rich people like Tesla, the first customers of Tesla, this is rich people. And after they had products more affordable.
Yeah.
But for this climate emergency, we need to most of people, not only the rich people, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And without the people with less money, the effect will be more important.
Yeah.
That's why the motto of 2021, this is electric car for all.
Mm. I love that. That's beautiful.
Simple to understand, and I hope the biggest effect.
That's beautiful, and that seems like such a perfect moment, maybe to complete the conversation, because I think that's such a powerful message. So thank you so much for your time, Aymeric, and
You are
thank you
welcome.
for your vision and